Okay, next we speak about another feature which is called management plane protection. Now what this is going to be a subset of control plane protection. It's also known as MPP, for management plane protection. And what this is aimed to do is to protect the router CPU against management plane level attacks. How does it do that? It's going to control on which interfaces can a router accept management traffic and what type of management traffic can the router accept. Like, for example, what this means, if we look at this diagram in here, or let me see if I can choose, let's look at this one. So if we take a look, if we speak from branch A's point of view, clearly facing this direction is the untrusted network, the internet, the transit network, which allows me to fire up that SVTI tunnel with a headquarters. So what that means is that clearly I wouldn't want any management traffic to come inbound on the router from this direction, which means on this interface. Because again, if I don't have other features enabled, like port filtering, for example, actually even if I have port filtering configured, so port filtering, as we remember, port filtering, that capability which sits in there between the interface configuration, between the interfaces and the CPU. If we do that port filtering, which is a subset, which is an option into control plane protection, port filtering allows the router to receive on the CPU only management plane traffic for services which it has enabled, not for services which have been disabled. Like, for example, if I disable Telnet or HTTP. So assuming that on my router in here, on router 1, I manage this router via SSH and HTTPS, it means that by default the router is going to accept inbound traffic of HTTPS and SSH both from this direction and from this direction. Of course, we can have an inbound ACL added in here, configured in here inbound on the WAN interface, so we don't allow inbound SSH and HTTPS traffic received from the untrusted side. We can do that, but we're not using this. It's better off to use the management plane protection function for this reason, because first of all, we're not using a feature. We're not using the proper feature to fix the problem. So if we want to fix a management plane problem, we should use a feature which was designed for that scope, which in the case of using inbound ACLs, we're not using a dedicated feature, because it's just by accident that the inbound ACL filters traffic, both transit traffic and also traffic destined to the router. Secondly, if we put the inbound ACL, the attacker can send a huge amount of traffic matching on that drop action of the inbound ACL, and likewise cause CPU spike on the router. So because we want no management traffic to be received at all from that direction, and we want only from this direction management traffic to be received on this gig00 interface, but only if it's type SSH or HTTPS. This is what a management plane protection allows me to do, to control what kind of management plane traffic can the router accept to the CPU. So I'm going to control what management plane traffic can reach the router CPU, only SSH and HTTPS, and on which interfaces of the router can I accept that traffic, which means only on the trusted interface gig00, not on the untrusted interface, which is gig01. So like in our use case in here, currently both router 1 and let's say router 2 should be able to, let's say, telnet to router 3. Let's confirm that. Now, I'm not sure if I have a password configured on the VTI lines of router 3 for telnet to work. Show run section line. Don't have a password configured. Let's put that password Cisco. So let's go from both router 1 and router 2 and telnet to router 3. Let's say loopback 0. On router 1, telnet 55553. It should work. Cisco. There we go. I'm connected. Exit. And on router 2, I should be able to telnet as well. Telnet 555.3. Cisco. And I am connected. Exit. But assuming that, for example, let's say that this is the untrusted part from router 3's point of view. Out there in that direction, it's facing the internet. And this is the trusted part only, is the trusted part. And from the trusted network, I only want to receive telnet traffic for management. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to configure router 3 to allow only telnet if it comes inbound on this interface, and drop all other management plane traffic received inbound on any other interfaces. Which means router 2 is no longer going to be able to telnet to router 3 now. It's going to be also a silent drop. Because what happens is, how this is going to work, is that we have the router CPU in here. We have the ingress interfaces, which you only have on router 2. We have two of them. We have 0031 and 0038. And with my MPP configuration, I'm only going to allow inbound telnet traffic to reach the router if it comes inbound on that interface. Any other inbound management plane traffic coming on this interface, it is going to be dropped. So it doesn't hit the router CPU. Let's go to router 3. So because it's a subset of control plane protection, it's going to be configured under the host sub interface, and based on what we want to restrict, we're going to be able to specify on which interfaces management traffic is allowed inbound and what kind of management traffic is allowed inbound. Verification wise, we have show management interface command to verify on which interfaces are which protocols management wise allowed inbound on the router, or we can say show management interface and a specific protocol to see if that protocol like telnet HTTP or SSH is allowed. So let's go on router 3 and say conft. So we say configure terminal and control plane host. It makes sense it's another host in there because it's traffic destined to the host, destined to the router. And management plane traffic falls under the control plane host sub interface. So we say management interface, and we say on which interfaces do you want to accept management traffic. And we said I want to allow it only inbound on FA0031. 31. And what management traffic do we allow inbound on that interface? I want to allow only telnet. So show management interface. Per my configuration, I'm allowing only inbound on FA0031 telnet traffic. Show management interface. Protocol SSH. Nothing shows up, which means this is not allowed. Protocol telnet. It is allowed only on the following interface. If we say show control plane host features, We should also see that management plane protection has been activated as well. So this is how you verify that MPP is enabled. It makes sense because it's under the host sub-interface. So to confirm that now that router 2 should not be able to telnet to router 3, but 1 should still be able to telnet. Let's go on router 1, telnet again, CISCO, I'm connected to router 3, exit, and if we go on router 2 and telnet again, there we go, it doesn't work, and it's a silent drop because this guy keeps sending traffic in there, and it's a silent drop. Why do you think it's a silent drop now? So why do you think this is a silent drop in there? Well, for example, if I go on router 1, on router 3, and I remove this capability, so let me remove it now for the moment. And let's say I go under the interface and say line VTI 04, and I say transport input only SSH. So this configuration states that now I allow only inbound SSH traffic on the VTI lines, not telnet. If we go router 2 and telnet again, it says connection refused by remote host. So this is not a silent drop, correct? So when we had MPP configured, the router 2 was not allowed to manage router 3, it says connection timed out. Because what happened is router 2 was keep sending send packets for telnet session to router 3 constantly. And in the end, router 2 stated connection timed out, remote host not responding. And it makes sense because this is what I want. If we put back if we divide router again into those 3 in there, and then we have in here those 2 interfaces. This is router 3 base. This is router 3. And here we have those 2 interfaces, which is 0031 and 000031 and 0038. We have the CPU in here, and here we have MPP, which any management traffic coming inbound in here is being dropped by MPP. So MPP drops the packet, not the CPU. So router 2 doesn't get any kind of reset back because that send packet never reaches the CPU of router 3, because this is what I want, to protect the CPU of router 3. Well, as you can see, once I remove that feature from router 3, MPP, I removed it. And then what I did is I went under VTI lines and I said transport input SSH, which means the router should not allow inbound traffic for management other than SSH on the VTI lines. Now, when router 2 has telnetted to router 3, it instantly received connection refused by remote host, which this confirms that this is not good enough because this hits the CPU. So now, because router 3 has been configured so that it allows only inbound SSH traffic, it means that if we put the router back and we put those 2 interfaces in there, so we have those 2 interfaces, 0031 and 0038, and we have the CPU. Now, when the telnet packet came in from router 2 inbound on this interface, it hit the CPU. It was a telnet session. Another CPU's router said, okay, so this is a telnet session, but it's not allowed per my VTI line configuration, so I'm going to send a reset, a TCP reset, back to the source saying not negative. I don't allow this session to be formed. So that's why router 2 has received connection refused by remote host. So you see exactly the difference between using the management print protection, which actually protects the CPU not to receive traffic that I don't want, against other ways of doing it, which is like the VTN restriction, which doesn't help the CPU. The CPU still gets hit, which it can cause the denial of service, right? It's just that with VTI line of configuration restriction, we don't allow that session to be formed, but the packet hits the CPU. That's why you see that connection refused message, because router has sent a reset message back to router 2 saying negative. I don't allow that session to be formed. So what I meant, a question from Piyush, what I meant by silent drop, it means that the packet was dropped by with the MPP function, with MPP, and even with policing. When traffic is being dropped by MPP or by CPPR, the router doesn't send any kind of message back. It's going to be a silent drop. And it makes sense because those packets never reach the CPU. So how could the router send a TCP reset message back if the router CPU is not even aware of the drop to begin with, correct? So silent drop means that the sender of that session, of the telnet session, doesn't get any reply back to the send packet. While with the VTI line restriction, when router 2 telnetted to router 3, 3 has sent a reset message back. That's not a silent drop from router 3's point of view. So 3 has just declined the session, but has not silently dropped the packet because the packet has reached the CPU. Okay.